They say some people hide the darkest parts of themselves behind a smile. This story was sent in by a viewer named Kevin, who still remembers the summer. His parents hired a babysitter that smiled just a little too much. By the time they realized who she really was, it was already too late. My name's Kevin, and this happened in the summer of 2006. I was 12 years old, living with my parents in a quiet rural part of Oregon. Our house sat alone at the end of a long gravel road, surrounded by miles of pine trees and silence. The kind of place where a scream would probably get lost in the woods before anyone heard it. Both my parents worked night shifts at a processing plant about 40 minutes away, so they'd hired babysitters before, but never for more than a few days in a row. That week, my usual sitter, my aunt, was out of town. So through a coworker's recommendation, my mom found someone new. Her name was Marissa. 19 years old, taking a break before college, supposedly great with kids. When she showed up that first night, she looked completely normal, polite, friendly, even shy. Her voice was soft and calm, and she had one of those perfectly measured smiles, and not forced, not overly sweet. But something about it made me uncomfortable right away. It wasn't what she did, it was how she did it. Like every move, every glance was practiced. Still, my parents liked her immediately. They gave her the usual rundown: dinner time, bedtime, emergency numbers, and by 6:30 p.m. they were gone. We ate spaghetti and watched a movie. She laughed at the funny parts, asked polite questions, and acted like any normal babysitter. Around 9, she said it was time for bed. I brushed my teeth, but when I looked in the hallway mirror, I saw her standing behind me and not close, just staring at me through the reflection. When I turned, she smiled. "Just making sure you're brushing properly," she said softly. I laughed nervously and went to bed. Around midnight, I woke up. The house was silent except for something faint, whispering. It came from the living room. I crept out of bed and tiptoed down the hall. Marissa was sitting on the couch, facing the turned-off TV, talking quietly to herself. Her voice was low, rhythmic, almost like she was rehearsing a conversation. When the floor creaked, she stopped. Slowly, she turned her head toward me and smiled. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. I nodded. "Then go back to bed, Kevin, it's late." Her voice was gentle but flat, no emotion behind it. I went back to my room and locked the door. The next evening felt stranger. She showed up exactly on time again, with a small black notebook she carried everywhere. I'd catch her writing in it when she thought I wasn't looking. At dinner, she started asking weird questions. "Do you ever get scared out here? So far from town? Do your parents ever leave the doors unlocked? What would you do if you woke up and they just didn't come home?" I thought she was teasing, so I laughed. But she didn't laugh. She just smiled again, that same frozen smile. Later that night, she said we should play a game called Hide and Pretend. "You hide," she said, "and I'll pretend I can't find you." It sounded like hide and seek, but her tone made it sound wrong. Still, I agreed. I hid in the hallway closet, leaving the door cracked slightly. After a minute, I heard her soft footsteps and that sing-song voice. "I can't find you, Kevin." She dragged out the words slowly, almost like she was enjoying it. Then silence. Then, "Maybe you're in the closet." The door creaked open an inch, and her face appeared in the gap, smiling, eyes unfocused, just staring. I burst out and shouted, "Found me." She didn't react at first. Then she blinked and said, "You shouldn't scare people like that." Her tone was flat again, no playfulness at all. That night, I barely slept. By the third night, I begged my parents not to go. They laughed, saying I was being dramatic. My mom even told Marissa about my nightmares. When she arrived, I locked myself in my room. She knocked softly on the door. "Kevin, I brought you something." I didn't answer. She slid a folded paper under the door. On it was a crude drawing, stick figures of me and her, both smiling. My parents weren't in it. Underneath, in neat handwriting, it said, "Now it's just us." My heart started pounding. Then her voice came through the door, calm and cheerful. "Do you like it?" I didn't move. After a moment, I heard her footsteps fade away. I waited 5 minutes before opening the door. The hallway was empty. I called my mom's cell phone. No answer. Dad's on voicemail. Then I remembered the house phone downstairs. I crept quietly down the steps. The living room light was on. Marissa sat on the couch staring at the blank TV again, smiling. She spoke without turning her head. "Kevin, it's late. Come sit with me." I didn't move. "Come on," she whispered, "I won't bite." I ran straight to the kitchen and grabbed the phone. Before I could press 9, her hand came down on mine, cold and steady. "You don't need to do that," she whispered. "Your parents said I can take care of everything." I shoved her hand away, sprinted for the back door, locked. Then headlights swept across the window. My parents' car. I turned back. Marissa was gone. My dad came inside first, followed by my mom. I ran to them, shaking and crying. Before I could say anything, Marissa walked calmly out of the hallway, notebook in hand. Her smile never wavered. "Kevin had a nightmare," she said. He got scared. My mom apologized to her, embarrassed, and paid her extra for dealing with it. Marissa gave me one last smile before leaving. "I'll see you soon, Kevin." The next day, my parents tried to call the coworker who'd recommended her, but he hadn't shown up for work all week. When they called the babysitting agency she claimed to work for, there was no record of any Marissa. A week later, police found an abandoned car deep in the wood, burned. Inside were notebooks filled with names, ages, and stick figure drawings. One of them had my name on the first page. I never saw her again. But every now and then, when I'm walking home late at night, I still think about that smile, that perfect, rehearsed smile, and wonder how many other kids saw it too. Kevin's story reminds us that evil doesn't always come from the dark. Sometimes it walks right through the front door with a smile. Maybe Marissa was just another face that disappeared into the night. Or maybe she's still out there, watching someone else's kid right now. If that thought gave you chills, make sure to like the video, share your story in the comments, and subscribe for more true horror stories every week here on Flicker of Fear Tales.